I have my lunch pail. I have my punch card. Almost mixed that up. But nonetheless, I'm ready to get to work, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to get a little warm-up draft going. We are going to get in the $5 puppy, $1 million prize pool. Again, for the 1,000th time, if you're new to Underdog, this is the tournament you want to get in. The Schnauzer here, the $3 buy-in. Get a couple warm-ups in there, and then maybe you can come hang with the big dogs in the $5 one. But we will be in here. 6 spots open in this draft if anybody wants to join. And of course, if you ever want to get into these drafts with us, make sure that you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. I know you're already subscribed because you are a genius. I can tell. But if you hit the bell next to the subscribe button, YouTube will actually let you know when we are live and you can come hang out with us. And we are pick 10. Pick 10, I would say, is a mediocre pick for most people. Most people may struggle here. However, yours truly is built different. Yours truly has experience in this section of the draft board. I may or may not have gone to the gulags once or twice. I may or may not have grown up on the streets of pick number 9. So pick 10 is my next door neighbor. I know all about it, and we will be able to figure it out. And yes, there were a bunch of news pieces that came out today regarding the schedule. First thing is RIP the New York Giants, of course. I think we all saw the Giants schedule, and we can safely say that at the very best, they are winning one football game. But obviously, that is a little bit of a joke. And let's see what we can do. But we got Sean in here at pick 4. We got Nick in here at 6. Turtle's in this draft with us at 9. Ken missed this one, but got in a draft at 1. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Jefferson goes before Barkley and Bijan in this draft. Wonder how often that is going to be the case. Wonder how often that will actually happen. Okay. Gibbs off the board at pick 6. Oh, I didn't notice Vinny's in this draft with us as well at 7. So we got a free square at 7. No competition whatsoever. Going up against 10 other people. This is an 11-person league. Okay. Let's see. Puka Nacua goes at 9. We will get Mr. Malik Neighbors. Y'all know I've mixed it up. I typically am not getting a lot of Neighbors because Amon-Ra St. Brown typically goes after him, and I would prefer St. Brown myself, but Vinny takes St. Brown here at pick 7. So we are going to end up with Neighbors instead. Okay. John says the Chargers did a Minecraft gimmick for their release. I have not been online for like the past 3 or 4 hours. So anything that's happened over the past 3 or 4 hours, I'm going to be learning it real time with you. We'll take Brock Bowers. I think Bowers has a realistic shot to outscore the receivers in this range. So we'll take him, lock ourselves into a 2 tight end build. And let me pull up Twitter and see if there's anything of significance. So we see Underdog tweet out that, yeah, the Chargers did a Minecraft schedule release. Now, your boy played video games back in the day, but never Minecraft. Okay, let's skim through this. Yeah, the Chargers, their social media team's always going one up. They're always going for it. Ken says Detroit has a killer road schedule. Let me look at the Lions schedule. T. Higgins off the board at 21. A little bit earlier than we'd expect. So the Lions schedule, here it is. We start off at Green Bay. I guess we're going to look at their road schedule. At Green Bay, at Baltimore, at Cincinnati, at Kansas City, at Washington, at Philadelphia, at the Rams, at Minnesota, at Chicago. Not a single easy game there. Maybe that's good news for St. Brown. Maybe that's good news for Laporta. Maybe that's good news for Jameson. Maybe they're throwing the ball a ton. We'll see. Large junk. He knows ball. My video game prowess was very boring. Way back in the day, played some NCAA football. Haven't played the new one. Played a lot of Madden. Played a lot of MLB. Not the cool MLB. Not the show. The boring one. Played a lot of 2K. Played a lot of Call of Duty. But outside of that, my video game prowess is very lackluster. Philip got Neighbors and Genty in a BBM yesterday. I would be very jealous of a Neighbors and Genty start. Okay, we'll look at the Patriots schedule too. Let's look at this. No, sadly, I've not played NCAA 25. I would love to. I just haven't had the time, to be honest. We're going to take Kyron Williams here at 34, and then after that, we will make sure that we are getting a wide receiver at 39. Almost regardless of what happens. Even if Breece Hall's available, y'all know I love me some Breece, but I think that we are going to be boxed in to a wide receiver pick just because we are behind the 8 ball there. All right, so let's see this Patriots schedule. Okay. Now, this is a horrible poster. I'm sorry. Whoever is in charge of making this. What is up with the 2020? Oh, shoot. Okay, can I get away with not going receiver? I may or may not have lied to y'all. We may be taking Breece Hall. We're going to take Breece. I can't take McMillan. I wanted Worthy more than anything. And now we are really boxed in. At the 5-6 turn, we have no option but to go wide receiver, wide receiver. I wanted Worthy, but yeah, sadly the team at 12 took him. But let's see this Patriots schedule. Why the hell are we looking at this type of font here on the 2025? But anyway, week 1 against the Raiders, winnable. Week 2 against the Dolphins, winnable. Steelers, winnable. Panthers, winnable. Bills, meh. Saints, winnable. Titans, winnable. Browns, winnable. Falcons, winnable. Bucks, winnable. Jets, winnable. Bengals, meh. But then Giants, winnable. Bills, Ravens, Jets, winnable. Dolphins, winnable. Yeah, this is a very, very easy schedule. I have not seen the Eagles. Let's pull up the Eagles. Jimmy says the Panthers, where wide receivers go to crumble. Okay, who are we pulling up the Eagles schedule? Okay. Now this is a little bit of a better poster. I'll credit where credit's due. We have the Cowboys, Chiefs, Rams, Bucks, Broncos, Giants, Vikings, Giants, Packers, Lions, Cowboys, Bears, Chargers, Raiders, Washington, Buffalo. We should have some pretty good games there. And Washington again. Now let's move this down. So again, we are very much boxed in a wide receiver. Unless we want to say that Malik Neighbors can somehow, some way be a top 5 wide receiver every single week, which may be a possibility. Are you freaking kidding me? It's absolutely disgusting, but we did it to ourselves. We're going to take Chris Olave at 58. It's the worst thing you could ever imagine. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy to have Chris Olave as your wide receiver too. But it is what it is. Godwin goes 59. Tanner says, why do the Chargers have the best schedule release every year? The thing is, too, you'd imagine these NFL teams pay, like, whoever's putting together that Minecraft video almost nothing in terms of the value that they're actually getting. Okay, Chuba goes. Oh my gosh. So this is disgusting. And obviously, if you were not drafting on Underdog, you would never do this. If you're in your regular fantasy football draft, you take Kenneth Walker and you laugh. Okay, why is it not letting me take Rome Odunze? Better have taken Rome for. Are you freaking... Let me show this. Network error. You see that? I'm not lying. I swear to God, I tried to take a wide receiver. Y'all see that flashing network error? That was not mine. That was not my doing. It keeps on going because I hit draft Rome Odunze like 5 times. We couldn't update your queue. That's when I tried to put him in my queue. Wouldn't let him. Wouldn't let me draft him. So I don't need to hear it in the comments. I don't need to hear, oh my gosh, Mason's an idiot. He's boxed out a wide receiver now. He's toast. It may or may not be true, but it's not my fault. Okay. At least it's just a puppy. At least it is a puppy. And hell, it will be funny if I end up winning 100,000 with this team and we look back and laugh because I ended up getting it with here. And let me refresh this so that doesn't happen again because I've done 1,000 Underdog drafts and that is the first time that I've seen that network error. Okay. We are refreshed. We are back in. And Underdog, you better not do that to me again. I will drive to the data center. I will burn these servers to the ground. You hear me? Hear me loud and clear? If I get autoed Big Q as my wide receiver 3, you just better know. Those servers, they're coming they're burning. Yeah, obviously it was my network. It probably isn't ideal for me to have 10 different windows open looking at these schedules, live streaming at the same time from an Airbnb. But of course, if you wanted to have some fun, if you want to go up against me in these drafts and apparently make out like a bandit, we're streaming these drafts every single day. Just make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button if you want to be able to come out and hang out with us in these live streams. And if you're not already on Underdog Fantasy, I'd imagine you've been living under a rock, but this is where we've been drafting for years and years and years. This is where we're going to take freaking Cooper Kupp ahead of Patrick Mahomes. RIP. And they're best ball drafts. So there's no time commitment at all during the season. You don't actually submit your starting lineup every single week. It's done for you at the end of every week with your highest potential scoring lineup. So if I end up drafting the Big Q, Quentin Johnson, later in this draft, and he scores 2 touchdowns randomly in a singular week, he will automatically slide into my starting lineup. That's how you can draft hundreds of teams. It's not going to replace your main fantasy football league, just some extra fun on the side. And yeah, again, if you wanted to draft with us, you can find that link in the description, comment section, live chat where it says draft with us here. And Underdog is available in damn near every state. You can see the map on the screen now to see if it's in your state. But we will pull up the Niners schedule right after we figure out what we're getting at pick 87. Give me something good, baby. Egbuka goes. So here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. This is how the board's going to look the next time that we are up. So do not scream at me that Luther Burden is the worst pick in the world here, because I agree he is. I wanted to go here. I agree. Luther Burden is a garbage pick at 87, going ahead of guys like Mahomes, Aaron Jones, etc., etc., etc. We need wide receiver points. We need them desperately. So we're going to go Luther Burden because we know later on in this draft, we are not going to have access to wide receiver. It is what it is. John says, dang, 7 primetime games for the Chiefs. Nice. Nothing is funnier than the first year that Rodgers was a Jet and they gave the Jets every single primetime game. And then we had a season of Zach Wilson to watch. But let me look at the Niners schedule. I know the Falcons got a bunch of primetime games as well. Okay, let's see what we got going on with the Niners. Niners go... Okay, this is the preseason. I don't care about that. They get Seattle, New Orleans, Arizona, Jacksonville, the Rams, Bucks, Falcons, Texans, Giants, Rams, Cardinals, Panthers, Browns, Titans, Colts, Bears, Seahawks. This is a very easy schedule. Much, much easier schedule than what the Niners had last year. So, we'll see. We got Bijan Mustardson out here. Vikings loaded with primetime games. Vikings will be fun to watch with McCarthy. At least hopefully they will. We'll see. We got Jimmy says, strong take. Jordan James will be the Jordan Mason of last year. What is funny is my name is Mason James. So maybe there's something there. Where there's smoke, there's fire, baby. KEU says, do you avoid players with early bye weeks? No, not at all. It's something I would never think about. Scotty goes 104. Keon Kolbinoff. Thank God we reached on Cooper Kupp and Luther Bird in the last 2 rounds. It would have gone from ugly to hideous. A-Rod says the Niners officially with the weakest strength of schedule. I did not know that. That is super interesting. So it's wheels up for CMC. It is wheels up for McCaffrey. Okay. Let's move this over. Brock Purdy goes. We could take. We may just need to bite the bullet and take Shaheed and not try to get cute with it. We're not going to try to get cute with it. We're going to be very boring here. Give me Shaheed as our wide receiver 5. Like, again, similar to what we're looking at with a couple of these other names at wide receiver. Did not want to take them, but we had to. And yes, here's what this team needs. Aaron Rodgers, go to the Saints. Revive Chris Olave and Shaheed for us. If Rodgers goes to New Orleans, this team may have life. We'll have Neighbors, Olave, Kupp, Luther Burden, Shaheed at wide receiver. Which, if it is Tyler Shuck, RIP, we don't have enough wide receiver points to compete. Running back, we'll have Kyron, Brees, Walker, Tracy. We'll have the elite tight end with Bowers. So this team is either needing Tyler Shuck to somehow be Bo Nix, which ain't happening, or we need Aaron Rodgers going over. Let's see. Let me pull something up here. K11 says, would rather have Tyler Shuck than Rodgers. Saints fan here. I mean, yeah, because y'all aren't playing for anything. If you were trying to win football games, I promise you, your win total would be higher with Rodgers than it would be with Tyler Shuck this next year. But if you are trying to go full tank mode, then I understand where you're coming from. And Njoku goes 127. Hollywood goes 128. So if we're looking at these quarterbacks with one, the only wide receiver that's sitting here in the next 28 picks of ADP is Kyle Williams. There's only one guy left. We probably have to take him. Now, do you want to be taking a player at the end of the tier? No. But do you want to have a network error and Kenneth Walker go before you draft your third running back? No. But looking at what we could do here when it comes to the quarterback position, there is a wide receiver that some have deemed as the savior. Some have deemed as the cheat code. Some have deemed as the next Devontae Adams. And his quarterback is still available. So we will go ahead. We will take his quarterback. And we will take the savior later on. Justin Herbert, welcome to the squad, my friend. Welcome to the squad. Quarterbacks that we'll look at later. I'm not taking Tyler Shock. Don't want to do it. If he turns out to be great and he helps Olave and he helps Shaheed, cool. Again, if Rodgers goes to New Orleans, even better. We may end up going ahead and looking at, I don't know, Sam Darnold for Kupp. We may look at Jackson Dart for Malik Neighbors. We may look at Geno Smith for Brock Bowers. So let's go ahead and let's get these quarterbacks queued up right now, just because I know myself and I know I'm going to forget. Let's queue up Darnold's. Let's queue up Geno. And I'm not going to queue up Dart. There's no world in which we're doing that yet. Okay. Let's move this over. And we may end up having to get in another $5 puppy draft after this one, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if we're warm enough for Best Ball Mania after this performance. I think this has showed us that we may end up having to stay in the low dollar buy-in streets until we can prove something. Let's prove something here. Mostly Peaceful Riot says, what was hot AF in Austin, Texas today. So here's the God honest truth. Don't tell the girlfriend this, because then she'll want to move here and I can't afford it. After being in Southern California for the past few months, it's nicer than Austin, Texas. I'll admit it. I'll admit it. Now, God bless the state of Texas and the fact that it's a lot cheaper than the state of California. We'll say that. So for that reason, next month, we're still going back. But the fact that I've been here for months now, and in Southern California, we've had one day of 90-degree heat while I've been here. And I'm going to go back to Austin, Texas in the middle of June. And I'm going to be dealing with 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 straight days of 100-degree weather. So, one, we get our savior. We get the big Q. Praise Jesus. This team is back in it. But yeah, not looking forward to going back to Texas in the heat. Not looking forward to it. Mostly Peaceful Riots, says San Diego. I have not been to San Diego yet. I don't know if I said this in the live stream earlier this week, but this weekend we went to Laguna Beach, which is like between LA and San Diego. It was one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. It was so cool. I freaking loved it. Okay. Do we reach on our quarterback, or do we take a tight end? We're going to reach on our quarterback. We'll take Mr. Geno Smith and we'll get him stacked up with Brock Bowers. Okay. So, yeah, I do not want to go back to Texas, to be honest with you. We have to, but I do not want to. Let's win Best Ball Mania. Let's win Best Ball Mania, then we can come here. Tell myself that. Especially after Zillow in the houses at Laguna Beach, whatever the hell it was called. I will need to win Best Ball Mania for that to happen. Oh my gosh. You want to see the cutest thing in the world? I just looked over to my right, and this is like the little room we're staying in at the Airbnb until we leave. Look at that little puppy dog over there. Y'all see that? Blends right in with the blanket. Cute as hell. My little angel. Okay. Let's move this down. And I am happy to go back to the house. I stand by. I think Austin, Texas has the best restaurants of any city in the world, at least any place I've ever gone. I'm excited to go back to my favorite restaurants. I'm excited to be back in my house, back in the studio. But I'm not excited for the 100-degree heat. Cash Clark says shoes on the bed. All right. I'll show one more time. These are the shoes I'm wearing for the race next month. They still have the tags on them. They've never been worn. Clean shoes right out the box. All right. They won't be worn for probably another 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, come on. Come on, guys. Shoes have the tags on them. They're allowed to be on the bed. I don't even sleep on this bed. This is my office. I sleep in the other room down the hall. You think I sleep in my office? Come on. That would be amateur hour. Yeah, that bed getting the shoes all dirty. That's pretty funny. Okay. We got PPR Tyler out in the chat. Happy to see you. Congrats on your Wolves, my friend. Congrats on your Wolves. Okay. Zachar, it's off 173. Let's move this down. So what we are needing here, ladies and gentlemen, 1, a miracle. And 2, 1 more quarterback, 1 more running back, 1 more tight end. Hopkins goes 175. Vinny, you got to let me know the thought process on Hopkins. I've taken Hopkins a total of 0 times, and I plan on taking him a total of 0 times. The teams after us, is there any world in which they decide to take a quarterback? Looking at their QBs, probably not. Do we risk it? No, because I frankly don't really care what tight end or what running back we're getting back. Okay. We're not taking Tyler Shuck. It ain't happening. 2 shots as Hopkins had a couple decent spike weeks. Okay. Let's see. Schultz goes. We are just running back tight end through the rest of this draft. Mr. Gesicki, welcome, welcome, welcome to the squad. Do we want you? Do we want Cade Otton? I would easily prefer Cade Otton over Gesicki if I should have probably checked to see if these guys had the same bye, right? We're going to act like Bowers and Gesicki don't have the same bye. And if they do, come on, what do you expect from me? The schedule dropped 30 minutes ago. Let's add another running back. Let me show off the team real quick before we queue up on running backs. We're going to hop in another puppy right now. But anyway, wide receiver. We have Neighbors, Olave, Kupp, Burden, Shaheed, Kyle Williams, and the big Q. Now, before we were able to add the big Q, I would have said we don't have enough wide receiver points for this team to do anything. However, because we get the savior, all is right in the world. Tight end, we have Bowers and then Mike Gesicki. So Bowers, buddy, you better hold down the fort. Running back, we have Kyron Brees, Kenneth Walker, Tyrone Tracy, and then whatever bum running back we get in the last round. Actually, we have 2 more picks left. Thank God we get another wide receiver. Quarterback, we have Justin Herbert stacked with the big Q. We have Geno stacked with Bowers, and we have Darnold stacked with Kupp. So this is a classic example of a team that is not good at wide receiver, that's not good at running back, that's not good at quarterback, that has a pretty good tight end. That's exactly how you want to build your teams. You want to be good at one position and bad at the 3 others. And if you are going to build your teams that way, you want to make sure the one position that you are good at is the tight end position, the most important position in fantasy football, as we all know. Cash Clark says Mason lets his girlfriend sleep in the office. Yeah, I mean, y'all see her sleeping in the office now. What do you mean by that? Look at that. Let's move this over. Adonai Mitchell goes 197. So we are taking another wide receiver now that we have some clarity. Looking at the quarterbacks we have, if there are any interesting receivers here. Okay. Kevin says, I have 3,000. Should I focus on one contest or spread it out? Frank says, honestly, with the 3K, I'd go into a higher stakes draft with higher odds of success. I would have the complete opposite take. I'll talk about that scenario in 1 second. First thing is we're going to take Marshawn Lloyd, team that wants to run the ball, thin running back room outside of Josh Jacobs. Much cheaper price tag than where he was getting drafted last year. And wide receiver. We could go Torrey Horton. Pair him up with Darnold and Kupp. The thing about taking Mike Williams is we're expecting the big Q to probably have a 30% team target share this next year. So, generally my favorite pick here is probably Roman Wilson. But because we have Darnold, we'll take Torrey Horton. Okay, let's move this over. Let's hop in another $5 puppy. I did not exactly have the draft of champions there, so we probably will need to warm up a little bit more. Okay, let's move this over. So let's go back to Kevin's question. $3,000, should I focus in on one contest or spread it out? First off, if you're spending $3,000 on underdog drafts, just know you are probably in the, I would guess, the top 1% of underdog draft spenders. Be my assumption. Could be completely wrong. But in my mind, having $3,000 spend pretty much gives you a bankroll where you could start drafting today and draft until NFL kickoff. If you're doing $3 and $5 drafts, what? You can draft a lot of teams. I'm not going to do the exact math. But you can draft 600 teams. Now, obviously, I wouldn't say only do $3 and $5 drafts. I do a decent amount of them until you feel comfortable, until you feel like you are good enough in these drafts to maybe go through and hop in some $25 Best Ball Mania drafts. Maybe if Underdog drops a $50 contest, a $10 contest, go ahead and hop in those. But this is the exact take that I would have from T. It says draft for fun, winning is a bonus, spread it out. Again, I am one of the, in a vacuum, I've won 2 separate underdog tournaments. I've got 16th place in Best Ball Mania. Over my entire time drafting on underdog, I'm probably net profit minimum 100K. And I'm the first person to admit this is the right take. Draft for fun, winning is a bonus. Like, you need to understand, you're not entering in these drafts with the expectation like, hey, the most likely outcome is I'm going to win. If you wanted to have the best shot at winning, I would agree. The higher stakes draft is the way to go. And maybe you do like a bunch of $3 and $5 drafts to have fun, get good. And then you hop in like 2 big dog drafts and spend $1,000 with those 2 drafts. But my main thing is, I think you should view drafting as a fun thing first. And I'd be trying to do as many drafts as I possibly could. That's my take. And we get pick number 10 again. So here's what Underdog's doing for us. They're going to give us Malik Neighbors again at 10. And they are going to go, redeem yourself, buddy. Here's your chance. Show them that you're not the worst drafter to ever get on this app. So here's what I'm going to do so we don't get in the predicament that we were in the last draft. Is I'm going to take that guy, Malik Neighbors, at 1. And then I'm going to follow it up with A.J. Brown in the second round. The thing that's maybe not the most exciting about taking A.J. Brown at 15 is we probably don't have a shot to take Jalen Hurts at pick 58. It's probably not going to make it that far, right? Team that takes Devonta Smith's going to have to pass on him. So, and also every other team, because Jalen Hurts does have rushing upside to get there by himself. But we're going to go wide receiver, and see what happens. Dylan says, personally, Drake London over A.J. Brown. I think that both are completely fine bets. Maybe if you want to go London in the drafts where you think you're not going to get A.J. Brown falling to you in the 5th, it's a very fair take. Ken says, do a couple $100 in BBM, one of 2 big stake drafts, and spread it out over the 3, 5, and $10 ones. This is probably the real answer, and this is probably the best thing that I would say as well. If you were like, hey, I know I'm going to spend $3,000 on underdog drafts this year, is maybe doing like $1,000 in BBM, $1,000 in the like $3, $5, $10 drafts, and then $1,000 in like 2 high stakes drafts, you know, because realistically you do that. Let's just do some simple math here. If you do $1,000 with Best Ball Mania, that's 40 Best Ball Mania teams. If you do $1,000 in the $5 drafts, that's $205 drafts. And say you also mix in the $10 drafts, maybe it's 150 lower stakes drafts. And then you can get in like 2 high stakes. So you'd have like 2 high stakes, 40 mid stakes, and then a couple hundred super low stakes. That's what I would probably be looking at. And asking if we have the sparkling water sponsorship this year. Sadly, we don't. John asking how much the flock contests were again. I think the flock tournaments we're going to host on Underdog, at least last year, they were $10. I'm imagining we'll probably do $10 again. Unless y'all want something else. It's just whatever y'all want. But anyway, Jimmy's in this draft with us at 4. Alex in here at 5. CJ in at 9. Lee in here at 6. I know Vinny's in here at 11 with us. Mike Evans goes. So I'm going to take Kyron Williams. Now, we took Kyron Williams in the 3rd round at pick 34 in the last draft, and it was an absolute debacle. It was a disaster from start to finish. However, the big difference is we're hoping we have enough wide receiver points in this one because we decided to take A.J. Brown in round 2. That's what we are testing out here. And because we went A.J. Brown in round 2, I'm going to let us go Lamar Jackson in the 4th. I don't expect that we get the Jalen Hurts option at pick 58. If I thought we had a chance of Jalen Hurts in round 5, I would pass on Lamar in favor to try to go with the Hurts stack with A.J. Brown. But we're going to take Lamar here, and we can target like Mark Andrews later. Okay. Yeah. Kevin, I hope that helped. I definitely wouldn't say I have $3,000. I'm only going to do this one certain buy-in. Because again, in my opinion, the main motivation for the vast majority of people doing these drafts is doing it to have fun, right? It's the same thing with almost because this is a hobby. Somehow I was lucky enough to turn a hobby into a job. But for 99.99999% of us, this is a hobby where if we end up winning money, that's even better. KU says, I forgot who in the chat is also one big. We had a bunch of people say it over the past few days. I want to ask again. Okay. Blake says, make sure to max out a few tournaments though. It's $750 to max out each puppy. My thing is To draft like 150 teams in the first puppy versus, say, I'm going to draft 150 total puppy teams across like 5 different puppy tournaments and spread out my drafting all year round. That seems like a lot more fun than, like, why does it matter if you like max enter one contest specifically versus like if you're going to draft 150 puppy teams, why not spread it out through the course of the off season? At least this is how I would view it. K11 says $10 buy-in was great. Won $2,700 from the Flock League Contest 6. Well, that is awesome. I got absolutely smoked in the Flock Leagues. My advance rate was decent, but when it came to, if Jalen Hurts falls to us at pick 58, my Lamar selection is disgusting. Oh, dear God. My Lamar pick was gross. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We botched it. We botched it. Somebody take Lamar so I don't... I'm sorry. Somebody take Hurts so I don't embarrass... Oh, thank God. Hurts goes 56. If Hurts was available to us at 58, it would have been... It would have been tough. Jalen Waddle goes 57. So a lot of these wide receivers are about the same. We'll take Chuba Hubbard at 58. I haven't taken a lot of Hubbard. I've definitely taken a lot more Kenneth Walker. Again, I've talked for a couple different reasons, but it does feel like Chuba Hubbard may be actually one of these traditional dead zone running backs based off his profile. Does scare me a bit. And we're going to take Rome Odunze as our third wide receiver. Do not hate this team. I like this start a hell of a lot more than I liked our last team. Wide receiver, we have Neighbors, A.J. Brown, Rome Odunze. We have the elite quarterback with Lamar. Running back, we have Kyron and Hubbard. I like this one. Yes, I agree. Says, who will the Giants use more of, Tracy or Scatterboo? I think Scatterboo is definitely a better prospect between the two of them. I haven't taken a lot of Scatterboo. I legitimately am afraid that the reason I haven't is because he just looks so tiny in the video that came out from Giants minicamp. But again, that just simply doesn't matter, right? I shouldn't be drafting my teams based off a video of him standing next to a massive defensive end. But if you look at Scatterboo, this is a running back that had the bell cow workload in college, but more importantly, was a prolific receiving back in college. So if he carries over the receiving involvement that he had at Arizona State to New York, especially for a team that's going to be trailing a lot of games, he may be the running back to have. Now, if I was drafting in like the marathon, an underdog tournament where it's just cumulative points through the entire season and it's not points in weeks 15, 16, 17 matter significantly more than points at the beginning of the season, there I'd probably rather draft Tracy because I'd assume that Tracy actually has a large role at the start of the year. But in your regular fantasy football drafts, especially in underdog tournaments, you are very much skewed to try to chase the points for the final 3 weeks of the season. Like, that is what we should be optimizing for. Nick says, favorite schedule release video. To be honest with you, I have seen a total of 0 of them. I skimmed through the Minecraft one on the live stream, but was not online for like the last 3 or 4 hours before my stream. Jamie says, is it a good year to wait on drafting running back or wide receiver? From what I can tell this year, it seems in my own drafts, what I feel most comfortable with is it feels best to wait on drafting the 1Z positions. It's almost like I like my teams the most when I just take wide receivers and running backs early. We're going to go Ricky Pearsall, pick 82. We haven't taken nearly as much Sticky Ricky this year as we did last year. Again, I'm a little bit concerned that this may be one of those scenarios in which it's just the player that scored a bunch of points in week 17 that the following year gets overdrafted in these underdog drafts. But falling ADP value, I was hoping that we could also pair him up with like Ayuk and have a very unique combo here at the turn. And based off ADPs, I thought there was a better shot we had Ayuk come back to us than we did Sticky Ricky. Khan says, why do you not like Juwan Jennings this year? Let me pull up this real quick. So, of course, whenever I show these stats, this is actually from flockfantasy.com. And just to be clear with how you can do this for free is you have to go to the rankings page on flockfantasy.com and then go to whatever player you want. It's not a pretty view on mobile. The rankings page looks great on mobile, but the stats don't look great on mobile, to be honest. But on desktop, you can see everything clearly, and you can see all the advanced stuff like target share, yards per route run. You can actually see this over time. And what's very interesting with Juwan Jennings is the dude was straight up bad in 2021, 2022, 2023. 1.6, 1.5, 1.2 yards per route run. It's not like he was always good and then he finally got on the field this past year because you had injuries and he finally showed what he could do. No, he was getting on the field previous to this, and the dude just wasn't doing anything with it. Now, maybe you'd say, well, Mason, come on, man. It was his 4th NFL season. But he came into the NFL as a younger player. Maybe he just needed to get to 24 years old like Kyle Pitts, and then all of a sudden he's going to be able to break out, blah, blah, blah. No, the dude's turning 28 this summer. So this kind of profile for me, like where you look at Ayuk, where Ayuk was a straight up bum this past year. Don't get me wrong. Even before the injury, Ayuk was horrible. Like you go and look at what he did. He played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. And in those 7 weeks, he had one top 36 wide receiver finish. He could not have been worse. But you zoom out and you go, we have 4 okay seasons from Ayuk. I mean, sorry, not just okay. We have 1 okay season as a rookie and then 3 strong seasons from the efficiency. You look at his target share, he's averaging over a 20% team target share his entire NFL career. Now, of course, he's coming off an injury. But while Jennings was the guy this past season, if we take a step backwards and look at that larger sample, I would rather go with Ayuk there, to be honest. And we're going to take Mark Andrews. I think Mark Andrews is a very clear pick at 106, knowing that we have Lamar, and obviously we want to be correlating this team where we can. I think we'll just take Brock Purdy. I mean, Bo Nix maybe feels like a little bit of a better pick if you're chasing quarterback upside, but we have Sticky Ricky, and if we take Bo Nix here, we're not going to get Marvin Mims on the way back around, and maybe Evan Ingram was already selected. I was going to say we probably don't get Evan Ingram, but yeah, no, Evan Ingram was actually already taken at 108, so we don't really have any Bo Nix stacking options if we were to go with him. So we'll just take Purdy at 111. Okay. Ross Cred says Jennings had an 83 PFF score. Now, this is going to be something that's very interesting for you to do, because I've done it in the past, looking at what matters to throw into the draft guide, looking at what matters to try to make in videos. If you look at specific numbers, they are very good at predicting fantasy football success the following season. Things like target share. Things like yards per route run, the things that we mention pretty often. In my own research, and of course, please go look at over the past 5-6 seasons and let me know if I looked at it wrong and let me know if I'm completely off here. But with what I found, PFF score does not translate to fantasy football success the following season. I'm not saying that PFF score is not useful. I'm sure it's useful for a bunch of different things. I have no idea how the hell to evaluate offensive line play. So a lot of times I use PFF score and PFF grades for that. But when it comes to like PFF grades of running backs, of wide receivers, I have not found them to be predictive of fantasy football success the following season. KU says, honestly, Sticky Ricky really is my favorite receiver in that offense. I thought Sticky Ricky was a phenomenal value last season for where he was going. Now this is pre him getting shot. Of course, I'm a sucker, so I started taking him after he was getting shot as well. But you were getting him as like wide receiver 6 consistently. Now I think it's a much tougher price tag. This team's 10,000 times better than our team that we drafted before this. Note to self, just take 2 wide receivers out the gate. Don't be stubborn. Don't take Brock Bowers. We're going to take Ramondre Stevenson. Maybe we can sit here and get excited about how easy this schedule looks for the New England Patriots and go, oh, okay, what if they're able to run the ball consistently at the beginning of the season? And at the beginning of the season, you'd assume that you do have a decent amount of Ramondre before Travion Henderson really does take over. Okay, so we will take Tucker Kraft here probably. Awkward thing with taking Kraft is, yeah, we'll take him. I probably should have checked to see what the Packers bye week is in reference to Baltimore. Because the awkward thing with taking Tucker Kraft is you probably can't take a third tight end now with this team. So we're probably locked into taking 6 running backs and 8 receivers. But wide receiver, we have Neighbors, A.J. Brown, Rome Odunze, Sticky Ricky, Cooper Kupp. Running back, we have Kyron, Chuba Hubbard, Ramondre Stevenson. Quarterback, we have Lamar stacked with Andrews. We have Purdy stacked with Sticky Ricky. And then we have Tucker Kraft as our second tight end. Heath Jones says, I did a capstone project for school predicting PFF grades for quarterbacks and only achieved a correlation of about 0.4. Like you said, pretty tough to predict. Yeah, again, I'm not trying to like dog PFF or anything. I'm sure they do a much better job on a ton of different things that I could ever dream of. But for fantasy football success, it was what I looked into. And it was very difficult to find any correlation with PFF scores. And like you can see like, oh, PFF scores in fantasy football success that season. But in terms of predicting fantasy football success the next season, I found like 10 different things that were much better at it than PFF scores. Let's see. After we take Kraft, the hope for us is that we have a ton of tight ends and quarterbacks drafted, right? That's what we're hoping. Maxwell says, is it a waste to do an Andrews likely stack with Lamar? I don't think it's a waste at all. Would I be going out of my way and trying to target both Andrews and likely on the same team? Probably not. The same way that I'm not going out of my way trying to get handcuffed running backs, monopolize backfields in these underdog tournaments. But I think there are one-off instances where if you think that it's going to be a rare thing people do, it could give you leverage over the rest of the field. So in my mind, the best time to do it's probably when like you have Lamar, Andrews, you need another tight end, and likely falls past ADP, and you were going to take a tight end with that pick anyway. Then sure, by all means, go ahead and grab him. And oh yeah, if y'all want a third draft, make sure you go down there, hit the like button. If we hit 250 likes on this live stream, we'll fire up a third draft, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Let's move this over. We are on the clock. Palmer goes. Oh, y'all really haven't learned, have you? Y'all really haven't learned a single thing. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. I'll tell you that much. Lead a horse to water, but can't make him drink it. Y'all see this? 1.93 yards per route run as a second-year player. Almost a 22% team target share. Wide receiver 38. You're giving me about wide receiver 70? Are you kidding me? Freaking fools, man. I'll tell you. We'll take Eckler. Just give us a couple usable weeks like you did last season, buddy. Just give us a couple usable weeks. And I know the big Q's a meme, but again, just like last year, I'll admit the dude probably should not have been around one NFL draft pick. I think we can all agree to that. But I'm going to have a hard time looking at a receiver that in his second season, let's pull this up. I'm pretty sure Quentin Johnston's younger than Trey Harris, right? No, I apologize. Same age. Quentin Johnston, 23. Trey Harris, 23. But Quentin Johnston's going to turn 24 before him. But nonetheless, in his second season, still 23 years old. 1.93 yards per route run, target share 22%, finishes wide receiver 38. Unironically, in my opinion, that is a good pick at about wide receiver 70. Okay. Let's see. I mean, Trey Harris is going to be there. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think it's a guarantee that Trey Harris pushes him off the field. Let's see. Heath Jones says, feels like TCU receivers always underperform their draft capital. Yeah, I mean, you do have the historic bust of Mr. Josh Doxson. If y'all remember back in the day. Pretty fun draft class if you played Dynasty at the time. I mean, the Josh Doxson class, I was obsessed with Dynasty fantasy football back then. So I spent a ridiculous amount of time with him. Not talking about him, listening to people on podcasts talk about him. Okay, let's pull this up. We are just running back and wide receiver. I would have loved Michael Wilson. We'll take Keenan Allen and send up a prayer that somehow, some way, he goes to a good offense and just gives us 3 usable weeks. Alcoholic Saints fan says, Michael Wilson's my most drafted player. Did I cook or am I cooked? I like Michael Wilson a lot more than the other wide receivers in this range. Like, I would have loved to get Michael Wilson instead of... We'll get Giddens. Clear path to running back 2 and his offense. And if you go over and look at the prospects page on flockfantasy.com, this is one thing as well. This actually may not be free. I don't know if we have this behind a paywall. But if it is free, or if you are a paid member of the site, definitely make sure you're using this. A lot of things people don't know with the prospects page is, one, obviously we have like a bunch of the stuff already pulled in, like the career first downs per touch, the career high points per game in college, their RAS score. But you can go in and you can add any metric that you want to see from any of these prospects since 2016. Like here's the list of all of them here. Like obviously a ridiculous amount. But you can also get a sense of what they were like as prospects coming out in comparison to other guys in school. Right, so like we can go through and you can look at DJ Giddens, score 0.67. Like the closest running backs to him with their scores coming out were AJ Dillon, Josh Jacobs, Devon Achane, David Montgomery, Rashad White, RJ Harvey, Sony Michel, Trey Benson, Antonio Gibson. And then you have like Cam Akers, Tootin. So like the Giddens prospect profile is not bad at all. And Dylan says some of it's behind a paywall and some of it's not. Okay. I don't know exactly what that means, but maybe the adding whatever other stats y'all want to is behind a paywall and then the basic stats are free. But regardless, if you're a member of the site, make sure. And another thing that you can do with this is you can go ahead and you can like filter down. You can say like, I only want to look at running backs that had a RAS score between 8 and 9. And you can actually filter down to maybe get comparables to another prospect that you were thinking of. So there's a lot that you can do with this page. So let's move this over. Itachi asking if I still like James Conner. Obviously, I'll forever appreciate James Conner keeping us alive in the Flock League. James Conner, another year older. It's hard to say this after last year. All the old running backs turned out to be not all of them, but a lot of the biggest values in fantasy football were the old running backs. And I faded Derrick Henry because of his age. Did not draft a lot of Kamara. And clearly they crushed. But this is why I'm not going to be on Conner. If the old running backs come out and crush again, which is definitely a possibility, could screw us, but it is what it is. We're going to take Jalen Tolbert, round 17. I still 100% think Jalen Tolbert should be getting drafted in almost every one of these. I mean, again, worst case, like you're the wide receiver 3 and what should be an offense with decent passing volume. Like sign me up for that. Looking at our next RB, let's just pick a random name. Let's go Taj Brooks. Thin depth chart beyond Chase Brown. Good offense. And let's show this offense. 7 more likes and we'll hop in another draft after that. If not, if this is the only draft, I mean, if we only do 2 drafts in the live stream today, no harm, no foul. But anyway, wide receiver, we have Neighbors, A.J. Brown, Rome Odunze, Ricky Pearsall, Cooper Kupp, Quentin Johnston, Keenan Allen, Jalen Tolbert. Running back, we have Kyron Chuba, Ramadre, Eckler, Giddens, Taj Brooks. Quarterback, we have Lamar stacked up with Andrews. We have Purdy stacked up with Sticky Ricky. And then tight end, we have Andrews and Kraft. So overall, I definitely feel much, much better about this team than we did the first one. Okay, but it looks like we are good to go ahead and hop in another draft. And because I feel like we did an okay job in this one, let's go ahead and let's get in BBM. Let's step it up. We're ready for the dance. We in here. Okay. Okay, so pick numero 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's 5. So numero 5 should be decent. Couple different players I'm wanting here. And we'll see if it happens. Black Suit says BBM is in full wide receiver avalanche mode, Mason. Well, we experienced that in our first draft, and it was not the most fun thing. GC says numero 1. Nick in here, numero 12. Lee in here, numero ses. Nick asking if Jonathan Brooks is cooked for good. Definitely cooked for 2025, sadly. And dear God, Brooks is a good example of a player that, like, I just need to never draft these injured guys. Like, I've been trying to cool it, drafting Godwin and Ayuk, because I am scarred for us consistently making the mistake of drafting these injured players thinking that we are getting some great discount. So we've slowed down on Godwin and Ayuk, but Brooks was a guy that we were drafting last year and just got absolutely nothing from him. Okay. Are we going to get Barkley at 5? So we were warned. We were warned to start this draft that this is going to be a wide receiver heavy draft, which it may or may not be. We'll figure it out. And if it is, maybe it's not the best thing in the world to be starting a draft off at running back. However, I see Saquon Barkley at pick numero 5. And me gusta Saquon Barkley. I'll tell you that much. Tyler says, I think scroll down candidates are an important convo. Much more important when we can look back over the summer and have a good idea of the guys that were actually getting drafted in round 17 and round 18. Thing is, right now, the guys that are getting drafted in round 17 and 18 are going to be very different through the course of the offseason. So, in my opinion, it's not as important right now, May 14th. Okay. AJ Brown goes pick 13 ahead of CMC. Yep, maybe one of those drafts, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe one of those drafts. Henry off at 15. I guess Derrick Henry got the contract extension today. Maybe that's something we should have discussed. Maybe we should have brought that up. Tyler says, doesn't that make them more important to talk about now before they become hyped? Not in my mind. Sorry, let me think about what we're going to do. Because you're going to scroll down around 18, pick someone, and then they get hyped, and then everybody's taking them in around 18. It's like, then what was the point? At least that's how I view it. So, we're dancing with the devil. Let's say that. We are dancing with the devil, ladies and gentlemen. We're taking Devon Achane at pick 20. ADP 18. Barkley, ADP like 2.5. So if you look at the crossover through the course of the offseason, I think it's safe to say there are not going to be that many Saquon Barkley, Devon Achane teams. I think it's a start that has a ton of upside. And Audacity agrees with us here. And we are going to be behind the 8 ball when it comes to wide receiver, unless we can play catch up, which we are going to do. We're going to do to the best of our ability. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We've played around with some 2 running back starts. We played around with some 3 running back starts. If one of these fools gave me Jonathan Taylor at pick 29 or Bucky Irving at pick 29, we may have gone 3 running backs straight. With how the board's sitting now, it ain't happening. Y'all know I love me some Chase Brown, but it's not. I can get Chase Brown pick 29 in almost any draft. Not any draft I want, but in a lot of drafts. So I'm not feeling like we need to. Yeah. Kyron Williams goes 27. So give me Tyreek, pair him up with Achane. We're going to have to do a rain dance, a health dance, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that Mr. Tagovailoa stays healthy, stays upright, and this Dolphins offense stays okay. But we are obviously going to be taking Tua later in this draft, or at least targeting Tua later in this draft, because the only way this team's viable is if the Dolphins go back to what they were 2 years ago. KU says, why are we taking Tyreek over Scary Terry? So obviously the big concern with Tyreek is the dramatic fall off last season at age 30. And it is a very real concern that the speedy wide receiver sees the efficiency drop now that he is in his 30s, obviously. But we have Achane, and we're trying to tell a story on how we can actually come through and maybe turn $25 into $2 million. And what would maybe have to happen is we get back to the Dolphins being a good offense. Tyreek getting back to 3.87 yards per route run, 3.37. Significant fall off down to 1.91, which is the lowest yards per route run that we've seen from Tyreek through his entire NFL career. But again, this is in a season in which Tua plays a total of 11 games. Maybe Tua stays healthy. Tyreek stays healthy. We can get back to that previous Dolphins output from their points per game. Maybe if we didn't have Achane, I think you can make an argument to go with Terry, to go with Rice. But having Achane, I think we're already in on this Dolphins offense, so I'm taking Tyreek. I'm going to take Sutton. I prefer Sutton over DK. I prefer Sutton over Flowers. The thing with Sutton versus DK, Sutton gives you the better season last year. And at the same time, DK gets a massive quarterback downgrade where Sutton arguably gets a quarterback upgrade with Bo Nix going into year 2. So we've actually unironically made Sutton one of our most drafted receivers at this point. Let me look at... because the only drafts I've completed, I'm in some slow drafts at the moment. We're going to take Ridley. Do we want Ridley or Pickens? I don't know. I know we're already in on this Dolphins offense, but taking like Waddle here, it would cap our weekly upside, specifically for week 17, having so many players in a singular offense that I'm not trying to have 3 of my first 5 picks come from the same team. So the only teams that I have finished drafting have been on the live stream. Like I said, I'm in slow drafts at the moment. But I've drafted 35 teams. My most drafted receivers are Adonai Mitchell, Michael Pittman, Wandale, Devonta Smith, Quentin Johnston, Michael Wilson, Nico Collins. Where's Sutton? I figured Sutton would be way the hell up here. Sutton I have at 14%. Is this updated? Okay, it was not updated. Now I've actually drafted 42 teams. Sutton's at 16%, and after this draft, he'll jump Worthy. Maybe he'll be up in the only wide receivers I'll have drafted more of will be A.D. Mitchell, Michael Pittman, Olave, Wandale, and the big Q. Okay. If Rodgers goes to Pittsburgh, I'm completely fine with you making the argument to take DK Metcalf over Sutton, to take DK Metcalf over DJ Moore, over Devonta Smith. Hell, take him up here at the beginning of the 4th round. But I don't know if I'm getting a big enough discount on that yet. Okay, let's move this down. RJ Harvey falling a bit in this draft. Is it really because of this blurb? RJ Harvey has a chance to assert himself in a crowded but open Broncos backfield. Let's be all on the same page. This ain't a crowded backfield. This is an empty backfield. Okay. Laporta goes 65. Godwin goes 66. For the love of God, don't make me take Olave again. Oh my God. This team, we're playing the what if the NFL has new helmet technology and our players stay healthy game. This is the all concussion squad. We have to rely on Tua's health. We have to rely on Olave's health. And yeah, it's absolutely brutal. Typically, we are not wanting wide receivers in garbage offenses like this. If we are taking them, we need a pretty big discount on them. Now, keep in mind, Olave was a round 2 pick in underdog drafts last offseason. I don't know if round 6 is a big enough discount, but I find myself taking wide receiver here in round 6 quite often because it's one of the last chances we get to take a wide receiver before you have a massive fall off. And for whatever reason, I find myself stuck with Olave in a lot of these. My thing with Debo versus Olave is I think Olave is just 10,000 times better. I think Debo's Dunskies. Okay, let's see what Gavin does. Go Shakir. I was actually going to be reaching on Brandon Ayuk with this team, but instead we will take Jacoby Myers. I was expecting Myers to go, and we were going to reach on Ayuk. But regardless, we knew we were playing catch up at wide receiver, right? We go running back out the gate with Barkley Achane. We know our job is to slam wide receivers afterwards, which is exactly what we do. Okay. Maxwell says Kingsbury and Debo are going to be unreal. I don't know. My thing with Debo is like the team he was just on essentially cut him. They didn't get the day 3 pick. They were just doing anything they could to get the contract off the books. Okay. Let's move this over. Looking at primetime games for every team this season, the teams with the most primetime games are the Chiefs, Cowboys, Eagles, Bills, Falcons, Niners, Packers, Lions. I'm surprised the Falcons have that many. The teams with the least amount of primetime games, 1 or fewer. The Saints have 0. The Titans have 0. The Browns have 0. The Jets have 1. The Panthers have 1. The Jags have 1. And the Colts have 1. Then the Raiders are at 2 and the Cardinals are at 2. KU says he thought the Bears were up there. The Bears have 4 primetime games. Same as the Bengals, Broncos, Ravens, Dolphins, Chargers, Steelers. Maybe people are pricing in the Steelers getting Rodgers. Maybe that isn't a likely outcome. Who knows? Lee right next to us also has the 2 running back, 5 receiver builds. We're going to go Mooney. I'm fine taking Mooney here because it does open us up another quarterback option with Michael Penix. Very concentrated target tree in Atlanta last season. Like Mooney, wide receiver 2 in his offense. However, he does get the 21% team target share, 1.97 yards per route run. So if you actually look at Mooney through his career, he's been an efficient receiver. Like besides his rookie season and the year coming off the torn ACL, every year he's had about 2 yards per route run. 2021 Chicago, he had a 26% team target share. Okay. Jordan Mason goes 99. Let's see what Gavin Wave does. Please. God dang it. Oh my gosh. Why could you not give us Bo Nix, brother? You have no Broncos. Well, we need another guy that is quarterbacks available later on. We'll take Downs. Probably done it wide receiver now. We need 5 running backs. We need 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends. But based off the players that we have taken, we have a ton of options when it comes to our quarterbacks. Fields, nobody. Purdy, nobody. Goff, no. Herbert, no. Dak, no. May, no. Love, no. Stroud, no. Lawrence, no. McCarthy, no. But we can go Michael Penix. We can go Tua. We can go Cam Ward. We can go Geno Smith. We can go Anthony Richardson. These are the quarterbacks in play. Now, if we get like a crazy fall, like if we get a Justin Fields fall, then obviously we can go Fields and then we can still end up taking Mason Taylor later on. But we'll see what happens. Right now, running back, we started this draft off with Barkley Achane. We then played catch up at wide receiver, going Tyreek, Sutton, Ridley, Olave, Myers, Mooney, Downs. For us to take 7 wide receivers straight, that does not feel like a good enough wide receiver room. Okay. Bateman goes 110. For us, we want as many wide receivers off the board as possible now. Because we need us some quarterbacks, we need us some tight ends and running backs. And I think you could have made an argument to go Kelsey over Downs there. The reason we go Downs is I don't hate the Richardson pull. Late if we're looking for spikes. Evan Ingram goes at pick 112, serves the Bo Nix drafter right. Brother, that's what you get. Let's move this over. Brock Purdy goes 114 to Vinny. Fields goes 115 to Lee. I will probably take Javonte here. Team after us that goes Bo Nix. You're assuming that they're going to go Marvin Mims. But yeah, I prefer Javonte over Tootin. Like, Javonte's probably in a better offense. Tootin's probably the better running back at this point, but he has 2 guys to go up against with the combo of Etienne and Bigsby versus Javante's competition's Jaden Blue. So let's see what happens. Dak off the board, 122. Issue with us like looking at Goff, Herbert here at 125 is since we're done taking wide receivers, like we can't go with the big Q later. Goff, Laporta's already gone. I mean, we could go with Love and then look at Tucker Kraft later, but I'm not wanting to do that at ADP. So we're going to go Tyler Warren. We'll pair him up with Downs, and maybe this is a Richardson team. Richardson, just start all 17, buddy, and I'll be your best friend. Start all 17, and I'll be your bestie. Now, probably wouldn't be the best thing for our Tyler Warren and Josh Downs picks, but the thing is, for our team specifically, we're not taking Daniel Jones. We probably do take Anthony Richardson. It could be a Trey Lance situation all over again, where the dude may start total of 0 games. But if we're looking for quarterbacks going the last 3 rounds that have the upside to finish top 5 in fantasy, Richardson could get there even if he's god awful based off rushing. Okay. Stroud goes 132. This is probably, no, our quarterbacks aren't even up yet. Again, our first quarterback that correlates with our team is Penix, and the ADP there is 147. So we could take him 140. I try to push it. We'll see what makes it to us. It's a world in which it may be interesting to take Jaden Blue as well and just monopolize every Cowboys running back touch, operating under the assumption that the Cowboys don't bring in another running back, because obviously if they were to, then it would just be absolutely devastating for us. Herbert goes 135. Michael Penix off. 11 picks before ADP. Love to see it. Jaden Blue goes 137. Tajay Spears 138. This may end up being a tight end. Yeah. So we're going to take Kraft, and then it looks like Tua is probably the pick on the way back around. We could go Lawrence. Let's see where the Waddle team's at. Because Tua had no rushing upside, so we don't have to worry about him being like Fields where somebody's just randomly going to take him, right? So you need the stack. Who took Waddle? Are they already done at quarterback? Waddle would have been a round 4 pick, no? Round 5 pick? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Goes 60. So this team here only has Stroud. So if we pass on Tua 149, Tua ain't getting back to us. It's now or never. And considering the fact that this team goes all in on Miami with Achane and Tyreek, it's now. Okay. Come on down, Tua. To take you ahead of Lawrence feels god-awful, but if I don't get you now, I'm not getting you at all. So we'll take Tua. We'll pair him up with Achane. We'll pair him up with Tyreek. And what are the odds he stays healthy all 17? What are the odds that Dolphins get back to what they were 2 years ago? I don't exactly know, but probably better than the odds of me turning $25 into $2 million in a regular contact. So hopefully it's a decent little shot. Running back, we have Barkley, Achane, Javonte. wide receiver, we have Tyreek, Sutton, Ridley, Olave, Myers, Mooney, Josh Downs. Tight end, we have Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft. Quarterback, we have Tua double stacked with Tyreek and Achane. Let's move this over. Lee says, you just wanted to let me win this one. I appreciate it. Lee, brother, you just took Joshua Palmer. What are you talking about? I like the Ramadre pick. I like the Love pick. I like the Fields pick. I like the Kelsey pick. Pacheco pick, pretty strong. But you send that message after you take Joshua Palmer? Mark says, I think you should have went Love and Kraft and still got Tua. The thing is, if we went Love there at 125, it did not guarantee us whatsoever that we were going to get Tucker Kraft in the following round, if you look at the way the ADP was set up. So if we would have gone Love and then whiffed on Kraft, we don't have the open spot to go with another wide receiver through the rest of this draft. So it's not like we could have just taken Dontavian Wicks at the very end. A-Rod, no, I do not use drafting tools. Lion King says the wide receiver room feels pretty gross. Tyreek, wide receiver 1, not great. Sutton, wide receiver 2, I'm okay with. Ridley, wide receiver 3, I'm okay with. Olave, wide receiver 4, I feel strong. Myers, wide receiver 5, I feel great. Mooney, wide receiver 6, I feel great. Downs, wide receiver 7, I feel great. Nick says I would have taken 2 at the turn. You were right there. Yeah. I mean, if I would have looked at the team that drafted Waddle, which it looks like that was you, and you would have also taken like Lamar and Caleb Williams, I would have maybe pushed it, and I would have maybe tried to see if we could get 2 on the way back around and gone like Lawrence at 149 with hope to get Brenton Strange later. But since we could look at your team and go like, yeah, we have absolutely no shot whatsoever for the Waddle team to pass on to it there, we kind of got forced to take him. Okay, we are going to take Geno to pair him up with Jacoby Myers. Okay, Darnold goes 166. So we whiff on Richardson. We could still go Stafford, right? And then get Ferguson in the last round, which would be just fine. We still need running backs too. I mean, running back, obviously this team's banking on the anchors of Barkley and Achane getting us there. But we need 2 more bodies. Okay. Hunter Henry goes, we are going to take Anthony Richardson. Brother, if you start all 17, I stand by. I think you are the best quarterback value in underdog drafts at the moment by a country mile. Now, the issue is, I don't know if you're going to play 17 snaps. Daniel Jones may take your job right away. I'm not asking you to be great. I'm not asking you to be the next Lamar Jackson, the next Cam Newton, the next Josh Allen. But what I am asking you is just don't be the next Trey Lance. Please. I need some quarterback points from you here. KU says it really ended up being 2 Richardson. I mean, come on. We took Downs to Tyler Warren. We took Achane and Tyreek. Of course we were going to have 2 in Richardson. Michael says, did you see the DK offer? Get in 1 draft and get in 2 free. I did not, but that sounds pretty fun. If that's real. I have no idea if that's real. Okay, Jackson Dart goes 181. Dylan Sampson 182. So now we are done at quarterback. We are going to need one more tight end and two more running backs. Our tight end feels... I'd like this team, to be honest. The thing is, obviously, so much hinges on Tua getting back to where he was 2 years ago and staying healthy. So much hinges on Anthony Richardson being able to start the entire season. But if those two things happen, I actually don't know if we want to get into here. We're going to go Devin Neal. I don't know how many Colts we want on the same team. But if those two things happen and we have enough points at quarterback, because if Anthony Richardson starts all 17 games, we're going to get some pretty big spikes from the rushing. Running back, Barkley, Achane, Javonte, and then two bums like Devin Neal, DJ Giddens. We'll be fine at running back. We'll be strong at running back with Barkley and Achane. Wide receiver with Tyreek, Sutton, Ridley, Olave, Myers, Mooney, Downs. I think we have enough wide receiver points to get us there. And then tight end, Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft, and then a third random bum tight end. I think a lot hinges on us getting enough quarterback points. And obviously this is a team that's pretty much solely built around Miami and Indianapolis exceeding expectations. But if that happens, I think we're in a really good spot. Okay. Jalen Wright goes 194. I just checked in. The Celtics blew out the Knicks with no Tatum. If the Knicks lose this series, that would be insane. This NEH team took Baker, May, Darnold, and Tyler Shuck. We're going to go Marshawn Lloyd. I almost considered taking Lloyd instead of Devin Neal in the last round. And then we're just going to queue up some random bum tight ends. Looking at the interesting tight ends for me. I don't want to go with another rookie tight end. I obviously like Jatavion Sanders, but that's not going to be a hot take here. Maybe scroll down for Ben Sinnott. Juwan Johnson and say, what if the Saints are okay? And then we can put, actually, I'd rather have Ferguson over Arroyo. Ferguson goes anyway. But I appreciate y'all hanging out with me today, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, we'll be streaming these drafts again tomorrow. Really hope that you join me for one of those. Hop in a draft, crush this yourself. But I appreciate you and really hope I get to